He had given me a second chance after first, a chance that most people would have never considered offering. I remember the day he sat across from me in that small cafe, his eyes searching mine for something, anything, that might indicate I truly regretted what I had done. The silence between us was heavy, laden with tension, a fragile bridge connecting two hearts that had once been inseparable. I nodded, forced a smile, whispered the words he wanted to hear. I promised change, loyalty, devotion, and for a brief, shining moment, I believed in the possibility of redemption. I allowed myself to hope, foolishly, that perhaps love could bend even the most unforgivable mistakes into forgiveness. But the truth, the raw and undeniable truth, was that I had not changed. I had fooled myself into thinking I could, that the pangs of guilt and the weight of his trust would somehow reshape me into the person I wanted to be. Instead, the temptation lingered, silent and persistent, whispering that one more time wouldn't hurt. And so, despite the promises I made, I allowed myself to step into the same reckless path I had promised never to tread again. Another connection, another fleeting thrill, another secret that I thought I could keep hidden from the man who had once opened his heart to me so completely. I can still feel the night of the second affair, the way my pulse raced, the adrenaline mixing with fear and excitement. I told myself it was just a moment, just a way to reclaim some part of myself I had lost, some part that had been dulled by guilt and regret. But deep down, I knew better. I knew I was playing with fire, and yet I convinced myself that he would never find out, that somehow my duplicity could remain invisible, buried beneath layers of carefully constructed lies, excuses, and smiles. And then it happened, the revelation that shattered everything, that tore apart the fragile remnants of trust one had left. The way he found out, I will never forget. It wasn't through confession. It wasn't through some dramatic moment of confrontation. No, it was far crueler than that. It was through the quiet observation of the truth, a truth that revealed itself slowly, undeniably, until there was nothing left to deny. He didn't yell. He didn't storm out. He simply looked at me, his eyes wide and hollow, searching mine for some sign that I understood the devastation I had caused. And when he spoke, his voice was calm, almost eerily so, a voice stripped of anger but heavy with disappointment. "Why?" he asked. Just that one word, and it carried the weight of all the promises broken, all the trust shattered, all the love that had been squandered. I wanted to cry, to beg, to somehow explain the unexplainable. But no words could mend the fracture I had created. I tried to reach out, tried to touch his hand, tried to convey the depth of my regret in some silent, desperate language that transcended words. But he recoiled not with anger, but with a quiet, deliberate distance that cut deeper than any shouted accusation ever could. It was in that moment, staring into the eyes of the man I had hurt most profoundly, that I realized the enormity of my betrayal, that there were some things once done that could never be undone, no matter how sincere the apology, no matter how heartfelt the promises. And yet, even as the reality of his unwillingness to reconcile sank in, a part of me still clung to hope. I watched him retreat into himself, watched the protective walls he had built around his heart rise higher and higher, and I wondered if there was any way back, if there was any path through the rubble of my own making that might lead to forgiveness, to understanding, to the fragile possibility of love reborn. But the harder I tried to envision a way forward, the clearer it became that he had moved beyond the point of return. The man who had once held my heart so gently, so completely, was now a stranger, a figure defined by distance and disapproval, by the quiet refusal to allow me back into the life I had so recklessly endangered. I spent hours replaying every moment, every choice, every reckless decision that had brought me here. I thought of the nights I spent lying awake, convincing myself that this was harmless, that it would change nothing. I thought of the mornings I forced smiles onto my face, pretending to be the person he wanted, the person I had promised to be, and I realized in a painful, unflinching clarity that I had not only betrayed him but also betrayed myself, that in my pursuit of fleeting excitement, I had sacrificed the one thing that had truly mattered, the one thing that had given my life meaning, the love and trust of someone who believed in me when I could not believe in myself. The days that followed were a blur of regret and self-recrimination. I watched him at a distance, careful not to intrude, careful not to force the issue. I read his messages, his silence, his avoidance, and felt the crushing weight of consequences. Friends offered platitudes. Strangers offered judgment, but none of it compared to the suffocating, relentless awareness of what I had destroyed. Each passing hour, each fleeting interaction with the world reminded me of the magnitude of my mistake, of the irreversibility of my choices. And I knew, deep down, that there was no magic word, no grand gesture, no torrent of tears that could restore what had been lost. The damage was done, the bridge burned, and I was left to navigate the wreckage of my own making.